Meanwhile, in Washington, the House Oversight Committee will subpoena the DOJ to release all unredacted files pertaining to Epstein. The move comes after 3 Republicans on the Federal Law Enforcement Subcommittee joined Democrats in an 8-2 vote to approve the motion to compel the DOJ to release those files tied to Epstein. The subpoena would request the redaction of names of victims, and files would be reviewed internally by the committee and not released to the public. That's important. At the same time, the House Oversight Committee also formally subpoenaed convicted Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell yesterday. It orders Maxwell to sit for a deposition at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tallahassee, Florida on August 11th, citing, quote, immense public interest and scrutiny. The subpoena was signed off by Oversight Committee Chair James Comer. We know the Deputy Attorney General also wants to interview Maxwell as part of what DOJ is doing. So, Brendan Buck, let's bring you in here. You're certainly familiar with the House of Representatives. Speaker Johnson, as we discussed last hour, sending the House home a little early to try to kick the can down the road. But it's sort of an example as to how at least part of the Republican Party is not going to let this go. We see some members of the GOP defy Johnson, defy Trump for voting for this measure. Give us your sense of the state of play.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen committees and certainly the floor be tied up in knots on a single issue like this. You have multiple committees that don't know what to do at this point because any amendment being offered by Democrats on this, they may lose votes. And I think it's important that one subpoena on DOJ was offered by a Democrat. Look, Joe knows this. When you're in the minority, you don't have a lot of opportunities to kind of shape the debate and what's going on. The House is a majoritarian institution. But Democrats have absolutely struck gold. Set aside the obviously very serious underlying issues here. They understand that Republicans are eating themselves alive, and they're helping them do it. The reality is every single one of these members on the Republican side, they absolutely need something. They need something that they can latch onto. And that's why you have multiple committees all trying to get a piece of this. Because let's remember, you guys talked a lot about people will never be satisfied. The underlying sort of conspiracy here, of course, is that there are a bunch of Democratic donors and elites who have been running around in a sort of pedophilia ring with impunity. And until that is proven, they're never going to be satisfied. And so there's no real end to this. Johnson may think that sending people home over recess kind of puts it out of mind, but they've been invested in this for years. For years. And it's going to be a lot of their loudest voters back home who are going to say, what did you do about this? And so they're probably going to come back not ready to change the subject, but itching for another vote or something to bring this back up when they come back in September.
Yeah, especially if they're going to be hearing it from town halls, perhaps, in August. And we say all the time how incredibly skilled President Trump is about changing the topic of conversation, being able to drive the narrative, in part because he doesn't face any resistance from Republicans in doing so. This is a rare moment where that's not the case, and that's why, at least for now, this story is really sticking. So GOP strategist Karl Rove has a new piece for the Wall Street Journal with the headline, Trump learns the political price of conspiracy theories. And Rove writes in part this: conspiracy theories undermine trust and cause chaos. When they are believed by large numbers of people, truth and reality become subjective. None of that bothers Mr. Trump. What should trouble him is that recent events may well reduce the number of his supporters who vote in the midterms and beyond. Told their passionately held beliefs are wrong or forced to watch the White House fail to jail their common enemies, many might become discouraged, tune out, and drop out of politics. That could lead to a Democratic win in the 2026 midterms and beyond. If that happens, Mr. Trump's life will get a whole lot more complicated. And Joe, Karl Rove basically saying, live by the conspiracy, potentially die by the conspiracy.
Well, and Brendan, this is many years coming. They've been, the Republican Party under Donald Trump have been awash in conspiracy theories. They've been able to baffle the press, baffle their Democratic opponents. But in this case, it seems the conspiracies, in this case, are coming home. The chickens are coming home to roost. And it's just not going away simply. So it is politically live by the sword, die by the sword.
Look, we have a midterm election where Donald Trump is not going to be on the ballot, and this is what Republicans have always struggled with. They do great with Donald Trump on the ballot.
Can you explain that really quickly? Because I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. That is such an important point to make. When Donald Trump is on the ballot, then a lot of this messy stuff kind of gets washed aside. He goes out, he gives his rallies, he does his interviews, and people that don't vote for Republicans come out and vote for Republicans. And I think, Brendan, it's always been crazy. Reagan supporters thought that magic was transferable. Obama supporters thought the same. Republicans in Trump's party think, oh, we're going to just put J.D. Vance up and it's going to be the same thing in 28. Explain why it's not.
Yeah, I mean, the Trump sort of coalition relies on a bunch of what we call low propensity voters, people who don't normally come out and aren't reliable voters every time. And what Republicans are trying to do is sort of remake the party, make everybody sort of in the Trump mold, and hope that when he's not on the ballot, that same sort of energy exists. Midterm elections are all about party energy. We know Democrats have lots of energy right now. They're holding protests and doing all kinds of stuff all across the country. It's a real open question of whether this type of thing may be where all of these people who have been so into Donald Trump for so long finally lose a little bit of enthusiasm. They don't have a good track record of coming out in elections when he's not on the ballot anyway. But if now they look at him and say, well, maybe we were sort of being taken for a ride a little bit, they're not going to turn on Donald Trump. I don't want to suggest that Donald Trump is like losing the Republican Party at all. But they may lose people who don't come out to vote. If they don't come out to vote in a midterm election, which history suggests they won't, then yeah, it could be a really bad night. Historically, it's always a bad night for the incumbent party. But when you don't have Donald Trump on the top of the ballot, you're risking a lot. And this may just be the thing that depresses enough voters to impact the election.
Well, even in the best of circumstances for Republicans, in the age of Trump and Donald Trump is not on the ballot, Republicans don't win.